All right, so hello all, and to all of our US-based clients, we hope that you guys had a nice Thanksgiving week last week or weekend. And to everyone and everybody else, welcome to our December Support Spotlight webinar. So slay your holiday season. So now let's head on over to our team for today. So my name is Isabelle. I will be speaking on the first portion of today's webinar, so on merchandise item and the store. And then my great colleague Tristan will take over. I'm sure you guys are very familiar with him if you've attended our previous webinars. So he will take over portion number 2, which will be fundraising. And then we have our lovely Mackenzie, who will be our moderator today. So he'll be here to answer any of your questions in the question and answer box, as well as out loud. So now we're going to head over to our agenda for today. So as I mentioned, I'll be covering the merchandise portion. So that means that we'll go over what a merchandise item looks like in your store, how to add a merchandise item to your store, which includes how to configure your tags, track your inventory, configure your shipping methods, manage your shipping and orders, as well as related and mandatory items linked to activities, and how to manage your merchandise. Then Tristan will be taking over for the fundraising portion, and he will show you guys how to set up a fundraiser, how to promote your fundraisers, and how to track your campaigns. And as always, we will have some FAQs and tips and tricks along the way. So there are many ways that you can use merchandise items in your store. So let's head on over and dive into some examples. So here are like a few ideas that we came up with today. So your store can be used to sell like branded products such as like mugs, socks, water bottles, etc. You can sell gift kits during the holidays, sporting equipments, costumes, team uniforms, and other related items that are to your programs and activities. And you can even sell products to raise funds for charities. So now that we have some ideas in our heads, let's see how these items look like in our store. So let's take a quick tour. So we've created a little festive holiday store for you guys today. So here is our store, and I will first point out that we are currently in administrator mode. So that is the default mode when you head into your store. So there's admin mode, and then there's client view. So in administrator mode, you'll be able to see all of your tabs, all of your activities, merchandise item, membership. So everything that you've created, whether they are available to your clients or not. And then client view, you'll be able to see the view that your client has. So if you have hidden items in your store, those won't be seen in client view. So it's always a great idea to head over to client view if you make any modifications or changes and additions, just to see what your clients see. And it's always great to experience your client's flow. So now we'll head over to client view. So here in client view, we're under our merchandise tab. So this is what our clients are seeing in our store. So you'll see that on the left-hand side, we have our filters there. So those are actually what we call in Amilia terms our tags. So we have some tags set up here so that our clients can easily filter through our store according to what they're looking for. So here we have shipping available as one of our tags. They can search through for clothing as well as accessories. So now let's have a look at a more specific item. So I've clicked here on a holiday ugly cardigan that was in the store, and I want to have a look at what it looks like. So I see at the top a little description there of what this item is. Then I see the price of this item as well as the delivery options if there are some. Then I can see the variant that I can choose. We can select the quantity that we want of the sweater. And then we also have the option to select who we are buying this item for. So this is optional, but it's always nice to know who the sweater will be for at the end of the day. And then you can click add to cart and continue on with your checkout process as per usual. And then I also wanted to take the time to point out that here on the bottom, your clients do have the option to promote these items on their social media. So we want to point that out because that could be interesting for the holidays, just to promote your holiday items. So now that we had a look at what an item looks like set up in the store, let's go into a step-on-step guide on how to create one. But first, I wanted to take a moment to make sure that you all have this app. So if you do not see the merchandise sub-tab under your store tab, that could mean that you'll likely have to activate it as an app in our app store. So this app is available to you for free to install in your store. And once it's activated, you'll see it under the store merchandise sub-tab, which we'll see in just a moment right here. So this means that I have my merchandise app set up. So that's great. So we will go into configuring your merchandise. So under the store tab, merchandise sub tab, as we went through, you will see a little blue button that will say create a new item. So I've clicked on that button and here I am to create a new item. So first we'll start off with a short description, the name and then a short description. So we have the name of our item today is we are creating a little puppy sweater. And then we have our description here, which is keeping your doggo warm. Then you have the choice to add your tag. So as I mentioned before, this is a way to filter for your clients to filter through your store. So here I had some tags available, so I was able to select them, but we will go into tags a little bit later. So here we're tagging it as accessories, clothing, and shipping is available. Then we fall into our cost versus selling price. So you can set up the cost price, so the price that you paid for the specific item, versus the selling price is the price that you are selling the item for. So this is a great way to keep track of your budget. And these two items do appear in your reports, which we will see a little bit afterwards. And then you can assign a ledger code for where this revenue will be attributed to. So here we put it to our merchandise ledger code. And then if you are feeling the holiday cheer of this webinar like we are, you can decide to apply a discount to this item. So your discounts, you can apply either a percentage or a fixed amount for the discount. So here I'm applying a 5% discount on this item for the holidays. Then you will fall into deciding if this is a service add-on or not. So if you enable the service add-on option, this will require clients to specify which activity they're buying this item for. So for example, if we're using this puppy sweater, if there is like a puppy parade event and the dogs need to have a specific sweater, you can check off this box. That way they'll have to tell you why they're buying this sweater. So that it'll be for the puppy parade event. Another more common example I think that a lot of organizations use is for early or late pickup, for example, for specific activities or camps. So this is a great way to know that if the child will be picked up in the morning or at night for which day of the week, because that does appear in your participant reports. So that's a really awesome feature to have. Next, we'll fall into our shipping methods. So shipping methods, just like tags, must be configured beforehand. So here we already had them configured. So we see here that we have pickup and delivery available for the sake of this webinar. So here, since I have delivery, I do have the option to set my fixed cost for delivery. So you can set your price here of how much it'll be if somebody chooses delivery, and then add in your taxes right at the bottom there. Then you can choose your methods of payment. So these are the payment methods that your clients will be able to use to purchase this item. So you can check off whichever ones apply. So credit cards, e-checks, offline payments. And then you also have the option to link this to an installment. So if this is a bit of a pricier item, you can set up your installment plan here. Then we fall into our inventory tracking. So we're going to have all these items. We will need a way to track these items. So here you can enter in an identifier. So an identifier can either be a SKU number if you have physical merchandise items in your store with a scanner and you use like the POS, for example. But if not, the identifier can really be anything that you choose. So it could be a name or numbers. It can really be whatever, just something that you will recognize. Then we head into our tracking options. So you do have 3 tracking options in Amilia. So there's automatic tracking when available, no tracking always available, or no tracking because it's out of stock. So you can choose that here. And then you could choose the quantity that you have of this specific item. Then we fall into fun part. So here's like the store display. So you can here you can choose how you want this item to be displayed in your store, whether it will be displayed like always showing, only show when it's in stock, or if you want it hidden from your store. Then you get to choose your image. So here you have 2 image options. You have the thumbnail and then you have the full image. So the thumbnail is the more specific image, the smaller one that you see when you enter your store. So you'll have all of your items and their little thumbnails. So here, for example, you could decide to crop it so that it just shows the sweater. And then when they click on the sweater, they'll see the full image of the sweater on the dog. So that's what the full image is for. It's really when you select the item. Then you can choose the mandatory merchandise. So the mandatory merchandise is where you can combine items to sell them as a package. So your clients will be required to purchase both of the items, but the administrator can always override this. So for example, this dog is wearing a hat and a sweater. So let's say that you need both of these items for the dog to show up to the puppy parade. You can link them as mandatory merchandise items together. That way your clients will show up with both of the items, which is always good. And last but not least, we will fall into our variants. So variants, you can think of them, it's just a different variant of the item that you're creating. So For example, you can think in clothing, that's usually sizing or colors, but then you can also make them like tickets or table numbers if you're using merchandise items for events. So here, since we're creating a sweater or clothing piece, our variants will be sizing. So our first variant will be small, medium, and our second variant will be large and extra large. So you will need to set up your identifiers, your inventory tracking, and the quantity for your specific variants, because those can vary according to your variant. Then don't forget to hit save at the bottom so that everything is nice and saved. And then we can have a look at what our newly created item looks like in our store. So here, once again, we are in client view. So we're under the merchandise tab, and then we clicked on our puppy sweater. So here we'll be able to see our full image of our puppy sweater. And then you'll see your short description at the top, and then you'll be able to see your price. So this is where you'll see your discount reflected. So our original price was $15. It's now crossed out, and then we have our discounted price right beside. And then you'll see your tax option that you would have set up and your delivery options, pickup or delivery. And then here you can choose your variant, which we had small, medium, and then large, extra large, and our quantity of the sweater that we would like to purchase. So now that we've seen the overview of how to create your items, there were some specific sections there that needed a little bit more explanation. So let's dive a little bit deeper on these specific sections of creating your merchandise item. So that first one being configuring your tags. So creating a tab is nice and simple. So here, instead of spending time in our store tab, which is where we've been spending most of our time today, we're actually going to head on over to our account tab, which is where we can create a new tag. So in our account tab, right at the top, you can select tags, and then you can select the blue button there, create a new tag, to create your new tag. So I have some here already created, but let's go through one together. So here you'll be able to give it a name. So in my case today, I'm going to give the name as holiday, because I want my clients to be able to find all of the items in my holiday store nice and easily. And then I can choose a color from the list provided, like the list of options. So I will keep this tag as a nice light brown. And then at the bottom, you have the choice to make this visible to your clients or not. So sometimes you can have some tags that you just want it to be for your administrators, which is fine. But today I want this to be visible for my clients so that they can search through my store. So I'm going to keep that box checked off, and then you can hit save at the bottom to save that tag. So tags, as we've mentioned, are very useful for both you and your clients. So the tags allow your clients to filter your merchandise item by category in your store. So this is especially useful if you sell a lot of different kinds of items, so ranging from like water bottles to team uniforms, for example. So here are just a few examples of how you can use your tags to categorize your merchandise in your store. So the first example I would like to use would be the shipping available tag. So this is a great tag to have so that everything that's available for shipping in your store will be categorized under that tag. So it's a great way to avoid any surprises at checkout. If somebody is can only rely on delivery, for example, they won't have to go through the whole checkout only to find that the item isn't available for delivery. So this way, if it's all tagged under the same little category, then that person will be able to know that it can definitely be delivered to them. Another example is if you raise funds by selling like special items, for example, you can group them together under the same tag so that your clients will be able to spot them easily in your store. This is also useful for you, so you and your colleagues can find these items nice and easily as well. Otherwise, we know that many orgs like to sell sporting equipment, for example, related to a specific program or activity or even a team. So this, you can tag them all by the team name or the age group or the specific activity if you want. That way your clients or parents can head on over to your store nice and easily and find the item that their child requires for their activity. So really the possibilities are infinite. It's really up to you guys to configure it according to what you sell. Next, we can head on to tracking the inventory. So tracking inventory is easy in Amilia, and it's a great way. We have some really great ways to track all of your items. So here, this is the box that we looked at before when we were creating a new item. So you can create your identifier. So again, that could be a SKU number if you're using our POS function with a physical scanner and you have your physical item in store. If not, you can create any identifier that you want. And then again, you can choose your tracking, which is automatic tracking when available, no tracking always available, or no tracking because it's out of stock. And then you choose the quantity of the amount of items that you have. So here we're going to look at our oops, sorry about that. We're going to look at our variants. So the first portion that we just looked at was just creating a specific item. And then this is if it has different variants. So you will have to set up your tracking for each variant. So here we have our 2 variants, which was our sizing for our puppy sweater. We have our identifiers right beside it. So we always recommend for your identifiers for your variants to keep them nice and close together. So in this case, all of the first 6 numbers are the same. We only changed the last number. So this way, at a quick glance in your reports, when you see them, you'll know that these 2 variants are a part of the same item. So it doesn't have to be numbers. It could be names. Again, it's really up to you. Then you choose the specific inventory tracking for your specific item, as well as its quantity. So now we can have a look at the overview of your inventory. So again, under the store merchandise subtab, under the manage tab, you'll be able to see an overview of all of the items that you've created. So here you can see the name and you can see the description, and then you'll see your inventory column. So this will include the variants if you have any variants and their specific quantities beside. So this does fluctuate. So if clients do start purchasing their items, the numbers will go down. And then if somebody even cancels and gets a refund, the number will go back up. So it does fluctuate for you. And then you can decide to click on Export Excel if you want to see this in a nice Excel sheet. Like that. And then so it's nice, you guys can share it around, or you can even work in this direct sheet. So now let's head on over to configuring and managing our shipping methods. So shipping methods, again, need to be configured before you create your item. So this can be, again, found under the store tab, merchandise subtab, and then there's a little shipping tab on the top. So you'll have the option between 3 options. So you have pickup only. So that's if you only have a physical store and your clients can only come and purchase the item in store or come and get the item in store. Then there's delivery only. So this is if they can purchase the item online, but it has to be delivered to them because they can't come and pick it up anywhere. Or you can choose to have both if you have both options available to you. So here I am choosing to have both. So we will have both options available today. So once your options are chosen, it will appear when you're configuring your item. So here we were creating our new item, and then under shipping, we had options here available to us. So we had the pickup option, and then we had the delivery option. So the delivery option actually does have 2 options. So this just only depends on how you want the delivery cost to be. So the first delivery, which I have checked off there, is standard delivery. So the cost is the same for everybody, regardless of if they live in a different state or province or right down the street. So just be careful of any extra charges here because we all know the posting service, sometimes we don't have any control over that. So if you would prefer to have a little bit more control, especially if you have clients that maybe live a little bit further away, you can choose to have shipping fees to be determined. So this way, your client will go through checkout, they will choose that they want delivery with the shipping fees to be determined, and you as an administrator will have to go into the client's account and manually invoice them for those charges. So you can charge them according to where they live, and that will be a great way to avoid any surprise charges. And then you have your taxes right at the bottom as well. So then you can go and manage your orders very easily as well. So we can go under the store tab, merchandise again, and then under orders. So this is where you'll be able to see all of the orders that have gone through for your specific items. So you see your order number, you see who the item was bought for, the merchandise item that was purchased, the variant that they purchased as well, which is always good. And then you see your shipping column there. So you'll see what they chose as their shipping method. So one of them here was delivery, and then the other one chose the fees to be determined. So then under the status column, you'll see is in blue with a little star. You'll actually have the option to change that column according to where their delivery is at, which is always great. So you can click modify there and you can change if it's new, if it's in processing, or if it's been delivered. And then as always, you can click export in Excel to have this in a nice Excel sheet. So now if you remember when we went through the creation of a new item, there was a little box to check off called a service add-on. So this always goes hand in hand with selecting mandatory or suggested items. So this portion will happen within the activity itself. So let's head on over to an activity. So this is an activity that we've already created. We're in edit mode, and then we can scroll on down to the bottom to the merchandise portion. So this is where you can select linked merchandise. So this means that these merchandise items will be linked to this activity, whether they are suggested or if they're going to be mandatory for your activity. So once you click the merchandise section, you will see all of your merchandise items that have already been created. So here we have all of our items. And then so on the left-hand side, you will have all of your suggested items. So if you click the box on the left-hand side, this will mean that these items will just be suggested to your clients once they select this activity in your store to check out. Then if you select the right-hand side, this means that they will be mandatory for your clients to purchase at the time of purchasing this activity. So they won't have a choice. So here, let's have a look at what that will actually look like for a client when they are checking out for your activity. So here I clicked on my activity and I'm in the store. And then here I will see my required items. So we had checked off that the puppy sweater, holiday socks, and the ugly holiday cardigan were mandatory. So if you want to purchase this activity, these items will have to be purchased as well. You will be able to choose your variants. So you can choose the size of the sweater as well as how many, but you won't have the option to add or remove it to your cart. It just simply is stating that this will be added to your cart versus suggested items will just be suggested. So usually suggested items are items that would go well with the activity. So like camp, water bottle, for example. So here it's just suggested. Again, you can choose the quantity or the variant. You'll see the price on the side, but the difference here is that you will see a button to add it. So you can decide to add it to your cart or not. Versus mandatory, there was no add button there. Now let's head on over to how you can modify, archive, and duplicate your merchandise items. So here again, under our store tab, merchandise sub tab, we are in our manage section. So this is a great overview of all of your items that you are selling and where your inventory is at. And then all the way to the right, you will have the actions column. So this is where you can choose to modify any of your items if you need to modify them. You could choose to archive them or duplicate them. So archiving comes in handy if some of these items are just holiday items, for example, and you no longer need to see them on this page. You can always choose to archive them to tuck them away. Another reason why archiving is very important is if you need to make any changes to your variants, and this item has already been sold, you won't be able to change the variants. So if an item is sold, you can't modify your variants after the fact. So if you wanted to add a variant or remove a variant, you'll have to archive that item and then recreate a new one. So now let's head on over to our quiz. So this is just a little quiz. Again, answers are anonymous. It's just to see if you guys were listening and to practice a little bit. So the first question is, what are variants used for? So are variants to add different sizes, colors, seat sections, or even table numbers to your merchandise items? Are variants to provide a unique identifier for each merchandise item? Or is a variant to choose how you would like merchandise to appear in your store? And then our second question is a true or false. So the true or false is you can edit variants on a merchandise item after you have sold it. Well done, I love it. So what are variants used for? Exactly right. So to add different sizes, colors, seat sections, or even table numbers to a merchandise item. And then the true or false, you can edit variants on a merchandise item after you've sold it. The answer is false. Unfortunately, you cannot. Amazing. Thank you for your guys' participation. Give me a moment. There we go. Okay, let's follow into our FAQs. So first question is, why can't I choose my own tag color? So we know that this is a common question. So the reason why we can't is actually due to the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. So they specify that a text should have a 4.5:1 contrast to be readable. So we use a little example here on the bottom. This example is a little bit harder to read. So like blue on gray, for example. So that's why we chose the combinations below, just to be as user-friendly as possible while offering you some flexibility. Second question would be, how should I configure my variants if a t-shirt is offered in multiple colors and multiple sizes? So a plain t-shirt that could come in red and blue, but also comes in different sizes. So in that case, we recommend to create 2 different t-shirts. So by color, for example, is usually the best way to go about it. So you can't create one item that is multiple colors and multiple sizes. So here you can create your red shirt and you can create your blue shirt, and then you can create the variants as the sizes. And this would be a great place to use your duplicate button. So you can create your red shirt, and then in the action section, use duplicate, and then you can create your blue shirt, just change the name and change the few small things about it. So now I will give the mic over to Mackenzie, and he'll be able to answer any questions that may have come in.
Well, thank you so much for that introduction, Isabelle. We've got a couple of questions here. Let me just put my bells away here. So first up, the first question I have is, can I use the regular discounts to give sibling discounts or other types with merchandise? And the answer is yes, actually. All discount types found under the discount tab are available to be linked to merchandise. My second question I've got here is it possible to have more than one image for the merchandise item? For example, a front shot of a shirt and the back shot. Well, unfortunately, we can only have one image linked to a merchandise item at this time. So I would suggest just doing whichever seems most important, I guess I'll say, for lack of a better way to put it. But that brings us to the end of our question period, and I'm going to hand it off to Tristan, who's going to take it away into fundraisers.
Thank you very, very much, Mackenzie, and hello, everyone. Hope you guys are having a nice time so far. So now we will be moving along with the fundraising portion of today's webinar. The holidays are inspiring times and are the best time to do some good in the world. Many of you must be thinking of planning a fundraiser to do some good for your community, but sometimes planning fundraisers can be time-consuming and require a lot of effort. Even if your fundraiser is already a big hit every year, is done in different ways, or is just starting to become a tangible initiative, don't hesitate to promote it in Amilia. So the fundraiser functionality lets you raise money in the simplest of ways. Amilia can generate a prompt during the purchase process asking if a customer would like to donate. If they do, the donation will then be applied to the customer's invoice. Alternatively, you can embed a fundraiser in your website directly, or you can enable the fundraiser tab in your store so your clients will be able to browse your fundraisers, because yes, you can have more than one if you wish. To begin, the fundraiser feature is an app you can activate via the Apps tab. It is available for free, and after you've activated it, you'll see it in the Store tab under Fundraising. Now let's look at how to configure a fundraiser. So we have a little video to help you guys visualize what it looks like. So here we can navigate to the Store tab under Fundraising. If we click on New Campaign, we can then enter the name of our campaign. So in this case, Stockings for Kids. We can select a fun little image that we can then crop to our liking afterwards. Once that is saved, you can then add a description, a full description. And if we scroll down to the bottom portion of the page, we can add a ledger code, a beginning and expiration date. Once that is selected, you can check off if you want the campaign to be active, if you want it to feature in checkout, and if you want to display the raised amount. You can also set a goal. In this case, our goal will be $5,000. You can check to display the goal amount and also to show progress as a percentage of goal amount. And finally, you can check off the accepted methods of payment. And once all that is done, you can just hit save. And now we're going to take a look at what it looks like if we navigate to our store. So here, as you can see, we have enabled the fundraising tab. And if we go here, we can see all of your fundraisers. And if you click on one of them, in this case, Stocking for Kids, you can simply enter an amount below on the box on the top right and hit donate. Next, let's take a look at how we can promote our fundraiser during the checkout process. So here, asking for donations at checkout is super simple. So if you remember, we just saw this little box we can check off that says feature it in checkout. So as we can see highlighted here, once that's checked off, if somebody was to buy a puppy sweater, for example, and add it to their cart, we can see here that at the top, they will have a prompt. Whoops, little technical issue. They will have a prompt that will ask them if they want to donate for Amelia's Breakfast Club for Kids fundraiser. So in this case, they're donating $5. And as you can see, it has been added to the invoice. You can also embed it on any website. So at the bottom right, you can see the state of the campaign section. And this allows you to embed your fundraising campaign by either clicking on embed this campaign or embeddable button to insert an embedded button to donate into your website. If you click on embed this campaign, you'll have access to the HTML code you need to be able to embed this campaign wherever you want in your own website. And you can quickly customize your embedding by choosing a color, and you can see the preview of your embedded campaign on the left of your screen. Similarly, if you click on the embeddable button, you'll have access to the HTML code you need, and you can customize your embedding by choosing a color and text that will appear on the button. So in this example, it says donate ! But you could put whatever you want. You will also see the preview of your embedded button at the top right of your screen. Now let's take a look at how to keep track of your campaign. So as you can see on the bottom right here, we will see that if we navigate to the fundraising sub-tab and click on any fundraiser, on the bottom right of that page, you will see state of the campaign. You can see the amount of donations and the amount raised. And if you click on see the donors list, you can see the name of the client, the amount donated, the status of the donation, and the corresponding invoice. And this leads us to our next question period. Mackenzie, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much, Tristan. We are at our second and final question period for today. So I've got a question here from Rachel. She asked, she said, I suppose, I work for a registered charity, so we offer tax receipts for those who provide donations. Is there any way to do this through Amilia? Also, what are the fees involved in collecting donations through Amilia? So those are some great questions. So to address the first one, unfortunately, it's not possible to directly offer a tax receipt. However, it would be possible perhaps to provide them with their invoice so that they can use that to claim it. So I guess there's nothing specific to provide tax credits. However, if the invoice will work, we do have that detailed one available. And when it comes to the fees for collecting donations, the same standard fees that you would have in your account do apply for those as well. So I've got a couple other questions here. I've got one here. Do funds raised through a fundraiser show up in regular financial reports? Well, they do, and you can find them under all of our ledger code reports, which is why it's so important to make sure that you're setting up your ledger codes correctly when you build your fundraisers as well. Another one here, do campaigns need an expiration date? Well, they don't. You can have one, but you can set it up indefinitely, or if you wanted to extend it, that's also not a problem. Lastly, a question from Lisa just came through. If we have multiple fundraisers, can we move the location in the store, the order they appear? I believe that this one is that they're in the order they're created. But you know what, I'm just gonna leave that one and I'll follow up with you after. I'm just gonna double check that information before I confirm that is the answer. And that brings us to the end of our question period for today. Thank you all for joining us for that. And I'm going to pass it back to Tristan to take us away.
Thanks a lot, Mackenzie. And thank you very much for your questions. Really, really good questions. And I hope that you asked all of them because now we're going into our quiz. So we're going to prompt that right here and see if you guys have been attentive. So how can you promote your fundraiser? You can select multiple answers, by the way. So firstly, by embedding it in your store, by generating a prompt at checkout, by making it mandatory during registrations, by selling it as merchandise, as a merchandise item, and by activating the fundraiser tab on your store. So I'll give you guys a couple seconds to reread and answer. Great job, guys. So as the audience knows, the correct answers were the first, second, and last answer. So you can embed it in your store, you can generate a prompt at checkout, and you can activate the fundraiser tab on your store. Thank you very, very much for your participation, guys. It's super fun. It makes it interactive, and it's a fun way to interact with you guys throughout the webinar. So thanks for participating. So now let's segue over to our FAQs. Question number 1. My fundraiser had a start and end date. It's now over. Is it possible to extend it? So Mackenzie touched on this a little during the Q&A. Yep, all you need to do is navigate to your fundraiser, and you can simply change the expiration date to whichever date you want it to be. And once it's saved, that modification will take effect and the expiration date will be moved to whatever you adjusted it to. FAQ number 2, can I cancel a donation after it was made? So somebody might have put an extra digit by accident or something like that. So in any case, if ever they want to cancel a donation, all you need to do is navigate to their store, and you can expand their invoice and click on cancel/refund items. And the process is identical as if you wanted to cancel a membership or an activity or anything of the sort. Now let's move on with a few tips and tricks. Tip and trick number 1, don't add all your fundraisers at checkout. We would recommend only putting your most important fundraiser at checkout, not to overwhelm your clients and to try and get the most for the cause that is the most important to you. Second little tip and trick, configure the right settings for your store based on your needs and personalize it by adding your organization's colors. So here on the right, we can see that if we go into the store settings sub-tab, we can adjust the tabs that are visible and how we want them to appear on our store. We can also change the colors and background images of our store to make it more personal. And we can also look at some legal notices and things of that sort. Tip and trick number 3, customize your fundraiser tabs to help clients learn more about them. So as you can see in this example, we changed the title of our fundraiser tab to Holiday Fundraisers. So this might motivate or attract people's attention, and you might get a few more donations. So that's a little tip to try and make it a little more custom and a little more insightful for your clients. So just a reminder that this webinar is being recorded and will be shared with you along with links to related articles in our knowledge base, as well as any answers for questions left in the chat. You can also search for any articles yourself by clicking on the blue arrow on the bottom right and using the search bar. And if you still have any more questions, you can always send us a message, and we will gladly help you guys out with any of your needs. We wish you and your families a very, very happy holiday season and hope you have an amazing day. See you guys.
Thank you all. Happy holidays.